Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we have this beautiful E46 M3 and this car has come in for a small tiny few jobs. As you can see, it's absolutely beautiful as is, and I'll go through the jobs with you in a brief second. But I guess one of the main things that when you see this car, one of the main things that stands out to you straight away is the color, and this color is called Phoenix Gold. And it's, in my opinion, I'm absolutely in love with it. I think it's a phenomenal color, and it really contrasts so nicely against the black bits that are on it, and I think it really does stand out. And I'm told from new, if you ordered this color, it was, you know, a considerable extra at the time. So consequently, I would imagine that the number that were sold would be far less than, we'll say, you know, a run-of-the-mill black one or blue one or whatever, you know. Okay, so it's, as I say, it's an E46 M3. It's 3.2, 343 horsepower, an absolutely beautiful car, 19-inch CSL wheels, and it really is just so nice. And I guess any of you guys that have been watching any of my videos for some time, you know, you've seen me with a lot of E36s, you've seen, you know, me working on an E36 M3 and, you know, other E36s. And I guess the E36 is the only M3 that I can think of that the body shape is identical to a lower model of the E36 range, whereas if you look at the E46 M3, you've got much bigger arches, much big flared arches here, and you've got the big flared arches in the back, and you've got the power bulge here in the bonnet as well. This color makes the power bulge harder to see. In darker color cars, it's very distinctive when the car is coming towards you. But when this car is coming towards you on the road, so you've also got these vents on the wing as well. And when these cars are actually coming towards you on the road, you'll know straight away if it's an M3 or not. And you know, there's serious road presence. And if we just go around to the back of the car, and the light might be against us on this one, but we'll just have a look at it. The boot lid on this particular one, this has had a CSL boot lid fitted to it. It's got this, you know, panned up spoiler, and it looks nice and chunky and nice and full. Quad exhausts as well on all the E46 M3s, and it's just a beautiful car. I really like this one. Yeah, so okay, let's have a look and see what we're going to do about jobs. This car is in impeccable condition. We want to keep it that way. So on the actual door handle here, unfortunately, a small bit of lacquer has just lifted here, and we want to paint that, and we want to, you know, make sure that none of that other lacquer comes off. And these strips up here, for some reason, where the roof rail strips are, for some reason the lacquer has lifted on those. Maybe the wrong adhesion was put on them or something, I don't know. Either way, they need painting. Now, the biggest problem with this is, can we match the color? Because if we're painting a door handle, we're pretty much edge to edge, and obviously we're edge to edge here, and it's going to be a tricky one. So I've sent off a piece of the car to get cameraed, to make sure that, you know, we can get as exact or very close at least to the color of the car. So inside the car, the jobs that are to be done in here are, the seat here has a tiny bit of wear on it, and fortunately the stitching is absolutely perfect. The bolster itself is absolutely perfect. However, you can see the black has the black dye has started to come away. So what we want to do here is, this is how a seat starts to break down and consequently go on to tear. When the sealer, the dye or the paint comes off, it starts weakening the leather. So what we want to do is we want to get that seat recoated, re-dyed. While we're at it, I'm going to do the other side, and the other one is this little switch here, the toggle switch, has just, for the rear window, you can see has just slightly collapsed. So we got a new switch from the main dealer, and that is going to be going in there. And last but not least, under the bonnet, you'll see this beautiful 3.2 engine, absolutely fantastic. The rocker cover gasket, we've got a slight weep in the rocker cover gasket just back there, and you know, a rocker cover gasket will go in any car with age. It's a rubber gasket, and through heat and oil, the gasket, as I say, is rubber, and the gasket will go hard over time and cause it to leak. So we're going to pop that off, take the rocker cover off, fit the new gasket which we got from the main dealer. I am also, some detailed history came with this car, and the owner doesn't have it that long, and we know that the car has been recently fully serviced. However, I'm not entirely sure what oil they used in it, and to err on the side of caution, I want to put in the oil into this engine that I know should be in it. So we're going to do the oil and filter as well as rocker cover gasket, like I said, and that will be that under there. And then we're going to give it a nice machine polish, and hopefully that will be that. So in apparently my own words that I say a lot, which I didn't know I said until it was pointed out to me the other day, let's crack on. Right, okay. Rocker cover gasket. Now I have the oil draining out as we speak, and we're going to pop off the rocker cover, change the oil filter. But to take off the rocker cover, I will have to remove this strut brace out of the way. So I'll get some spanners for that now. Okay. And remember that it's fucking left-hand thread. Right? Just open these now and pop it off. The reason why I open those nuts there is because there is, you know, it's taut, and there's tension on it, so it would just make it easier to remove. Not exactly tight, which is good. So we don't lose everything now, and we keep everything together. Magnetic tray, very handy. All the gear here in Lockdown Motors, fresh out of little. I'm telling you, that Parkside stuff or whatever. Oh, I think there's worse again. I think I got that in the pawn shop, but it's cool. It's a cool little tray, and look, a magnet is a magnet, no matter whether it comes from Snap-on or Lidl or whatever. So it'll be handy. Strut brace should pop straight out, and there we go. Put that out on the ground. Safekeeping. Okay, now I am going to, yeah, get out those back ones there. Well, actually, will I be able to get in there? Is there anything at the back? Were BMW nice to us? They were. No, that's only a cover, I think, anyway. And the actual rocker cover is underneath it. So, time for a bit of time lapsing. Now, if you can see that, a bit of gunk there in the crankcase breather. There's absolutely no problem with it. I mean, it's just where it's been breathing over time. But I think what we'll do with that now is we'll sit it in a bath of something overnight and let it break down and give it a wash through in the morning, and it'll be as good as new again. But it will be absolutely insanity if you can pick that up, John. But in there, it's quite blocked up in there, so we want to make sure that all that's freed up, because it would be absolutely stupid not to address it. Now that the rocker cover is off, we want to remove the gasket, obviously, but now what we're hoping to find is a problem with the gasket. There was quite a bit of oil around one of the seals, so I'm pretty confident that changing this will sort our problem. But it's always nice to have a good look at it and a good inspection as well. Okay, It's really, really rock hard. Now it's going to be stiff enough anyway because of what it's made of down the sides here. This is just rubber, but inside here you've got metal. But the actual rubber that's on it on the sides is, especially near the exhaust side, is quite hard, and it's broken down in a few places. So yeah, definitely needed to be done for sure, and I have no doubt that that will sort our issue. Now what we're looking for, these go around they go around the rocker cover, but they seal off around where the coil goes as well. So they're on the underneath of the rocker cover. So unfortunately, the main dealer only supplied the gasket. Normally, a gasket comes in a kit, and it comes with everything that's attached to, you know, doing the job in itself. I mean, there's no way in the world that you would replace the rocker cover gasket and not replace these, because these are fucking hard. That one stayed behind. It was around the back one. The rest will be inside in the rocker cover. So unfortunately, we'll have to get back onto the dealer and order the rest of what should have come. But anyway, it'll be fine once it's done. Okay, we'll change the oil filter as we're here. And what size are we? 12. We're not in Japan, so let's go for 13. These cartridge filters. So years and years and years ago, in, you know, vintage cars at this point, every filter that was in it was a paper cartridge filter. I'm just taking that multi-plug out of the way so I can take off the cap here nicely. And then they went metal spin-on filter, and then for recycling reasons and all the rest of it, they went back to paper again. Okay, so there's an O-ring there at the bottom base of that as well. We'll be hoping that is in the kit with the new filter. And this cap literally just lifts off. And we have another O-ring inside here, and that will be changed as well. I always like to inspect these things. Like, it says it was done on a receipt. I'll just take that off it. But I always like to have a look in the actual filter part itself and just see, can you see any bits and pieces? And yeah, there's a few bits and pieces in there. So filter definitely doing its job, but nothing that would show any cause for concern in there anyway. So that's good. That's always a bonus. Okay, in the bag we have a number of different things. Okay, before I open it, because it'll fall out. Okay, so you've got 4 items. So we've got the big seal, which is on the cap here. We've got a smaller washer, which I'm guessing is for the base of the filler cap. The other one will be for the sump plug. If it is it? Could well be, because there's quite a small sump plug in this. Copper washer on the other one. Looks like it could be. We'll see in a second. And the all-important little rubber O-ring there as well. So it's just, you know, it's nice to change absolutely everything that comes in it, because at least you know then that there should be no leaks. It's handy just to put a little bit of oil on it to help it slip on over it. Trying to damage the new one on the way in, and that's on there. Okay, so here is that small other washer I was talking about, which is actually ingrained into it. If you didn't know it had to come off, you wouldn't see it. There we are. So we'll change that as well, seeing as we have it. Okay, with this filter, there is no, you know, right or wrong way of putting it in. I always like to have the lettering facing up. Some people are different. The last person to put it in had the, you know, the logo facing down. You know, it's really personal preference. The only time you'd ever have it, you know, having to go in a certain way is if one O-ring was sitting prouder than the other or something like that. But in this case, you just put it in, and I actually just want to check that Just see if, no, it doesn't. Sometimes they've got to click into place as well. So you'd be pushing and pushing and pushing, and then you'd feel it seat, that one. No sweat at all on that. Okay, so I'm going to tighten this up now. Okay, with these things, the last thing you want to be doing here now is pulling the fuck out of it and over tightening it. So remembering you're dealing with aluminium here, and you're going into aluminium as well. It's not, you cannot squeeze the daylights out of it, nor are you supposed to squeeze the daylights out of it. That is what the rubber seals and stuff are for. Okay, let's give that a quick wipe there. Make sure we're okay. Plug in that sensor again. I think what we'll do next, seeing as we can't really go any further with this tonight until such time as we get the remainder of the kit, is we will go into the car next now, and we will change the window switch. Moving on to this famous switch, like it still works and all, but like it's just, it's broken. So let's change it and put in a new one. Do you know what? I was going to attempt to even open this and try and fix it and, see if I could do something with it. But look, it's plastic, and there's no way that you could probably, prevent this from happening again. So easiest option, replace it. Okay, so let's see what misery we're going to have here, if any at all. Something's telling me this is tighter than normal due to the carbon fiber wrap that's on there. Actually, as we're here, you see these two wires. So these two wires put power to the gear lever. And see, can you see it illuminating? So it's kind of red. I'll turn it off and see, can you see it? It's kind of cool at night. The gear lever lights up. Pretty pointless, but it's kind of cool. This could be the easiest fix we get to do on this vehicle. Oh, look at this, we're in already. So where are we going with this? Oh my God, one quick clip and the whole thing separated. And we've got one clip here and it's out, and it's actually the whole unit. So drivers, front and back are on the same one. And we can actually see now, so if we look in here, we can see the problem. So that's the front one, which was working fine. And you can see, look, that's the back one. And look, it's broken. So even if I tried to fix it, you couldn't, because it's fucked. So here we are from BMW. And this, to be fair, this wasn't badly priced. And at least, look, this car is 19 years old, So the amount of times in its life that the driver's window would have been used alone, it's a wonder that one hasn't broken before the rear one. So it's good now, at least he's getting, both switches, both replaced on the same job. So, okay, reverse it, just click it in. Are we really going to have it this easy? Christ, I'm amazed. I'm absolutely stunned. That's it, seems to be done. Nice simple fix. Let's get our two screws back in there. There we go. Remembering not to start the car because there's no oil or rocker cover on it. It won't start anyway because the coils are disconnected, but still, you don't want to be cranking it over with no oil in it. So just onto the red lights. And works in the back window. It's got actuators on it, electronic actuators. In the window, and pushing it out. Excellent. So that is a success. Now, onto the paintwork. Okay, I've just put back on the door handle, and not bad, happy enough with that. So we've fixed the flaking lacquer and got her back in there as well. Put back on the roof strips, they're all good. And now we're just going to give the car a quick polish all over, and she should be all good on the outside. I'm just applying this Carnauba wax. Now, Carnauba wax is normally very difficult to do by hand. So I'm applying it by hand, but I'll be taking it off. I'll be taking it off with the machine. And this carnauba wax that I have is made by Concept, and it is what's known as body shop safe. Concept do a range of body shop safe. They have a program on it, and it's basically stuff that doesn't have heavy silicones and stuff like that in it that's going to cause damage in in body shops, because one of the worst things is silicones in the air when you're actually painting and causing massive reactions, and believe you me, it is a nightmare. So I know that this stuff is safe to use. Okay, so that's that on there. The machine, the trusty mop. Okay, microfiber cloth here now, just to take off whatever residue is there. Assess it, have a look at it, and if needs be, I will hit it again. And I will put some of the raw finishing gloss over this at the end, and that should blend everything in nicely. Now, the one thing that you may or may not have seen is this thing here, this vent. Now, the mop is unforgiving. And if you catch that thing wrong with the edge of the mop, it's fucking good night to it. And I've broken plenty of things over the years when I first started off years ago using that machine. So you'd be very, very cautious around things like that, because they're, there's not much strength in them and the mop will break them. Aerials as well, lamps, anything like that, bits of trim, you've got to be always very careful with it. And just remember, if it's too tight, do it by hand. Seats are nice and dry now after their couple of coats of dye. I put on a good chunk onto it because it was a lovely day. That's why I had them outside, and I had the sun baking on them. And as you can see now, they turned out, really, really, really well. I'm really happy with that now. The one thing I love doing about, when I do these leather seats is the wear stays in it. And it still gives it that lovely aged look, but is obviously all resealed, and will go on to live for another long period of time. The bolster here, as you saw earlier as well, that was absolutely worn to death, whereas that now is back as good as new now again, and will definitely save the seat from ripping. Okay, so these are so heavy. I'm going to put these into the car now. The battery disconnected. Put them in, plug the seats back in because they're fully electric. They also, they'll have the occupancy sensors on there as well. So the reason why I disconnected the battery is that if I unplugged these while the battery was connected, it would sense a problem with the occupancy sensor, and it will put on the airbag light. So the battery is disconnected. Plug it back in now, connect the battery, and hopefully the airbag light will go out. It should do. It should. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. That's always the hard part about putting in seats. You can put them in without causing any damage. Right, where's our multi-plug? That plugged in to the base of the seat and clicked into place. Right, that's good there. The beauty about fitting BMW seats is you've got two studs sticking up in the front, so two nuts hold on the front, and whereas the back, then the studs go in. So it's just a case of line up your seat, get it to sit on the front ones, and then put in the back ones nice. And I normally try to put them in hand tight, and then once all the 4 bolts are in, you can lock them up. Obviously can't move that seat back now until the battery's connected to put in the other one. So let's get the other seat, connect that up, and then we can connect the battery. Oh God, let me pull it back. Of course, the thing about these seats is, because they're electric, you've got all the motors and all that in them, and that makes them even heavier again. And you'd be fucking surprised what weight is in them. There we go now. We have working seats. Okay, that's good. Check the other side. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do now, I'm actually just going to run this side up because the gun is actually here. The worst thing you could do with these seats is put them in and you know, not have everything kind of run up hand tight. If you just put in one and tightened it and then went to the other side, obviously it's going to be offline. So the key is to make sure that everything is lined up and it's moving nicely, and then you're ready to tighten up then. Right, give those a bit of a dust down now in a minute, and we give the glass a clean just before it goes, and I must just actually put on a piece of plastic around that. Right, I'm actually going to disconnect the battery again because we are now working on the engine. So we're putting on our gasket, our rocker cover gasket, and our rubber rings that we got from the main dealer. We're going to fill it with oil, and we're going to nearly be there with it, I think. Right, we have our little rings to go on first, which go around where the spark plug goes. These things literally just slip down over the top. They're the same profile both sides, so there doesn't seem to be any particular order or you know, an upside or a downside. So we'll just slip them on there. Okay, now I have the gasket in place already. I sat the gasket on earlier and just let it sit in place there. And there's tiny little dowels here and there that it sits down onto. And it actually, you can see these little studs here as well. It sits down over those as well. Now we're going to be very careful here at the back of the engine. There is wiring at the back of the engine that is could get trapped. The rocker cover, nice and clean. I actually let this soak in, actually doused it in petrol and let it soak, and got a brush and really dug into it. And in the, there's a breather that goes through here. And that banjo bolt there as well, crankcase breather. So I blew that out as well. That was quite blocked, and the filter was blocked as well. So it will breathe better anyway. So yes, nice and clean and dry, and hopefully now we should be okay to go on. That was a good sound. That was a nice fucking solid sound. Okay, now I remember somebody asking me the other day, is there a sequence for torquing the rocker cover? You know, because it's on top of the head, and obviously there's a sequence for torquing head bolts. Maybe there is a sequence for torquing the rocker cover. However, the best way to do it is start in the middle, work diagonally, and obviously then work out in the next. Don't squeeze them all up, run them up hand tight. Go back to the beginning and then start tightening. And yeah, that's how it is done. Right, this banjo bolt now down the side of the engine will need doing next. I got 2 new copper washers for that. Something tells me that this had a lot to do with the leak as well. So I'll put that there for the time being. Here are our copper washers. So we put one on the banjo bolt. You can see there's on the various different holes there. Okay, so the copper washer on one side, the union is down here, so we got to get that through there. So slip the bolt through, and then slip the copper washer on the other side of the union before bolting it to the cam cover without dropping it into Narnia. Good. Again, we'll just run that up hand tight. You can have a look in there now and you'll see the washer either side. Some nice shiny washer there, and on the inside there as well. So that is good. Okay, we'll get our nuts and bolts now. Now you could, if you wanted to, if you really wanted to, you could run these up with a you know, run it up with the gun I was using on the seats and that. But like, you know, you don't want to over tighten it either, and pinch the gasket in any way or whatever, because it would totally defeat the purpose of what we've just been doing with the last Christ knows how long. Now, the last time you guys looked into this, you would have seen a lot of carbon build-up. So this is nicely cleaned out now, absolutely spotless. I let this one soaking overnight. Again, soaked it in petrol, and it broke down all the carbon build-up that was in there, and it is clear as a whistle. Okay, so we'll put it down here. That O-ring is pretty okay. Now the stuff that I'm using on this is just a little bit of lubricating stuff that you would use while putting on brake pads, but it'll do the job perfectly fine here. Because we're dealing with rubber O-rings, the last thing you want to do is pinch them. So if we get a bit of this stuff, it just seats at home. If I wasn't using this, you could use Vaseline or fucking KY jelly or any form of other fucking lube like that will do fine. Right, slip it in to place, like so, and we want our studs now to go in here to hold it in place. That's good and tight there. Top of that is off the breather that's going back into the plenum chamber by the throttle bodies there, so that should click into place, which it does. That then takes the breathing from the crankcase here, takes that from there, and then goes down into our banjo bolt down here, which now is in place and can be given a nice squeeze with a spanner. Again, same applies here. Going into aluminium, it's not going to be that tight, but we do want to make sure that it seals as well, but not to get carried away with tightness. Okay, and those copper washers collapse a little bit as well, so you know, make sure that you allow for that too. So next, coil packs. Okay, with these coil packs, I'm gonna make sure that they're sitting on nice on top of the plug. So give them a good push, but again, got to be careful because they're just plastic, the top of them, and they are what feels very flimsy. So normally when these click onto the top of the spark plug, you'll feel it just seating nicely. So I'm just going to felt that there. Feels okay. So we have an earth wire to go on down there. You know, people don't realize how much stripping there is and fiddly bits in doing a rocker cover gasket. And doing a rocker cover gasket in a car years ago was probably a fucking 10-minute job, simple. But these things, there's so many nuts and bolts and connections and all the rest of it. It's a bit of a slow old process. I actually did a rocker cover gasket in my E46 M3, fuck's sake, E46 325 when I bought it back from Marbella, and it took me an age to do, just like this. And the gasket I had got I got a spurious one, and it was a cheap and cheerful one, and the gasket that I put on was fucking worse than the one that I took out. And when the engine is kind of thrown to the side like this, it leaks down on the exhaust and the smell is awful. So that actually needs doing again. So when you're doing these things, get a decent gasket. The one thing I do like about these coil packs is I do like the connectors on them. They are pretty cool, like. So I get that in there. That is nice, like. Now we got that little earth as well that needs to be connected to the body, or connected to the head rather. Where did that end up? It's down there. Okay, so it's tight there now. So We're just going to check everything now. All right, that's tight, that's tight, that's tight, 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 tight. They're all tight there. All tight there. Okay, let's get some oil into it. The worst thing that you want to do with putting oil into a car is to put in too much, because it will form hydraulic pressure, blow every fucking seal there is, and then you're in trouble. So the best thing to do is, and I normally do, is I would put in under, you know, the amount that it's supposed to have. In this case, I've just put in a gallon, and I'm checking it there, and it's below the minimum, or below the first mark, okay? So you can see it's halfway on the dipstick. So bearing in mind now, the oil filter housing has got no oil in it, because we've changed the filter in that, and there's oil to be pumped around the rest of the engine. So I know there's enough oil in it to be safe to start it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start it, get the oil pressure up, and check for leaks around the crankcase here and the rocker cover and all the rest of it. Make sure it's okay. Switch it off, let the oil settle, then check my level, and then take it up to the mark. So we're going to make sure now that everything is out of the way. Go over everything, make sure that we have everything tightened. Have a good think about what we've done before we turn the key, because you only get one chance. Let's connect our battery. We're connected. Well, the good news is the airbag light has gone out, so that's good. Oil light. So this is what when you're starting an engine after changing the oil, bearing in mind, we took all the oil out of this, took the filter out of it, so really, there was a big drain on it. The one thing that you want to do is make sure that you don't start the car and just walk away from it. Start the car, make sure that oil light goes out, you've got oil pressure, and now we can let the oil temperature build up, and we're now going to go around and have a look for leaks, potential leaks. Okay, that looks good. What I'll do now is I'll switch it off, and we'll let it sit for a bit, and we will check its level once the oil is settled for a bit. I'm still slow to put this cover on for the time being. I would ideally like to take it for one little drive with that top cover off, and again then just assess to make sure that there is no weeping or any dampness around the rocker cover, because look, you only get one chance really to make sure that you've done this job correctly before putting that cover on, because once that cover goes on, you won't see anything. So let's give it 5 minutes, let the oil drop to the bottom of the engine, check our level, take it from there. When we started the car from cold, the light, I'm pretty certain, would have been on to the orange light would have started at 5,000, meaning it won't let you rev past 5,000 because the engine's too cold. So it's now telling you that it's warm enough to let you rev it to 7. So when it gets warmer, it'll turn out each light. Okay, so we will get rid of all the driver aids and put it into sport mode, because it should always be in sport mode, in my humble opinion. Oh, I thought that might have been the guards, it's not. Repair windows a little bit. You see now that light has gone to 7,500 revs now, so according as it warms up. That's kind of cool, like it's a nice safety feature too. Right, this will do us. We don't need to go any further. The noise, the camera may or may not have picked up that noise, but when you press the brake, did you hear that? That noise is actually the drilled discs going. So there's always a strange kind of noise when you press the brakes when you're not used to it. Okay. Back in my socket. So what we'll do is we'll just drive. We'll drive straight in. Let's just check now for any leaks. Right, we'll switch her off. Right. How are we looking? How are we smelling? We still got our light on, we have. Okay, dry. Okay, that's all looks dry, which is pretty good. Have a look underneath it. That looks dry. Sweet. Okay, now we can put on the top cover because, you know, I'm pretty happy there with everything. And also we'll let the oil settle as well, and we can check our level again and just make sure that it's okay. I don't know what I'm fucking doing. Do you know what? I'm so used to recording. I was just thinking that I was actually recording it myself. Okay, right. This cover that's going on here now is purely cosmetic, so you don't really have to worry about, you know, is it going to seal okay or anything like that. One thing I said was, there's no way I'm letting this place get messy, and it's an absolute tip. Actually, do you know what? No, first things first, get the oil cap back on because we don't want to be dropping anything in there. Okay, let's have a wipe of a cloth under the bonnet. Wipe it down, have a look and see, have we done everything? Double check, go through everything in my head, make sure that there's nothing, I forgot to tighten. Let's give it a quick wipe. We've got a fan blade cover here that you need to put back on. So I'll get that there now. Super. The last job now is check the oil, because it's been sitting now a considerable amount of time while we've been doing all that. So our oil level should be pretty accurate. So we'll have a look. Just on the full mark there. So I'll give that another wipe and just make sure. Yeah, you can see it there. Going again there. Just on the full mark there, so grand job. Okay, so that's okay. Happy with that. And there we have it, all done and dusted. Okay guys, thanks so much for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed this one. Little mix of everything in this one, and beautiful car, as I'm sure you'd agree. And we look forward to catching you all on the next video.